Hello, Leafs Nation. Wow, what a weekend, hey? Who knew this trip to Sweden was going to be so much fun? Not only so much fun, but entertaining. Those two games, the Leafs didn't play too well to start those games, but they sure did come around. And I'm glad, usually when you see these things, they happen in the middle of the regular season. There's all these special things going on, and sometimes, the NHL tries to put on a special event to try to create some excitement, change things up a little bit. And I'm always the type of fan where if I'm watching an outdoor game between two different teams, or I'm watching some sort of a heritage classic or whatever it is, I always root for the home team, the home fans. I know what, like, I've been to both outdoor games for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I know what it's like to be, a fan going to one of these events, and you're all hyped and you're energetic and you're excited to be there, and then your team doesn't play that well and the results not that great, and it kind of just kills the experience. So I'm always the type of person when I'm watching an outdoor game. Let's say, like, Edmonton played an outdoor game earlier this season, and they were at home. I was rooting for the Edmonton Oilers just because their fans get to enjoy the experience a lot more when their team plays well and they win, right? So that's just the type of fan I am. So when I see this whole Swedish, um, when the Leafs are in Sweden with these other teams, you see players have their families come out, and everybody knows the story with Nylander and uh, his grandmother has never seen him play an NHL game, so that's kind of nice. And he got to put on a show. 3 points in the first game, 2 points in the second game, scores the OT winner. I mean, when you see Nylander's dad jump up, point to his friends and family that are sitting around him, and he's like, "Did you just see what my son did?" Like, these moments are super special, right? And the Leafs won the game in overtime, and Sundin comes out to give the player of the game gift, which I think was a Rolex. And Sundin comes onto the red carpet on the ice, and a bit of a fist pump, and he's like, "Way to go, guys! That was a good game. Way to win that game!" Like, that's really what sports are about, and those special moments and things like that. It's the whole thing was very um, fun to see. Just how big Swedish players are over there. Not just William Nylander on the Toronto Maple Leafs, but um, players on the Detroit Red Wings and the Minnesota Wild, and the Ottawa Senators have some Swedish players. So they all want to go over there. They want to put on a good show. They're, like I said, their families are there, and then you see like Brandstrom scores a goal uh, for the Ottawa Senators, and for sure he's got family there, and the Detroit player who scored on Ilya Samson of under the glove, Lucas Raymond. He's got family there, and it makes the event that much more fun when you get to see moments like they're trying to grow hockey there. So the Toronto Maple Leafs players and other players were hanging out with kids in the community that play hockey, and they were talking to them and asking questions, and the kids got to ask them questions, and they got signed merch. The weekends like that, or events like that in general, are a lot of fun to see because we get to experience um, these guys out of their normal atmosphere, right? They're not just going to the rink in the morning, doing a practice, doing their post practice meetup, coming to the stadium later for the game, doing their post game, and it's a lot of simple questions and how do you feel about your game or what did you see on that goal, and you get a lot of like typical answers and cliche answers. Whereas in this kind of environment, you get to see players out and about. The Toronto Maple Leafs were posting tons of content on their social media where the players were trying Swedish snacks and doing different things. Timothy Liljegren was out doing a Q&A showing pictures of Leafs players to like random people on the street and saying, what do you think this guy does? Like a picture of John Tavares, and they're like, what do you think this guy does for a living? One person said he's a CEO of a company, and then they showed Austin Matthews in a robe, and they said, what do you think this guy does? And they're like, he looks like a podcaster. So that's hilarious. That's it's very rare that you get content like that out of the NHL. You get to see these players in a different environment other than just at the practice rink doing post practice media, post game media in between in between uh, periods at the games where they just give cliche answers and they're in and out because they're dead tired. But it was a other than the fact that the Leafs won both games, went there, got 4 points, and came back. The overall experience was great. Um, just talking about the games in general, that first game, it looked like the Leafs in general just left their legs on the jet. Um, and the hard thing about these things is, I've paid attention throughout the years when other teams have done these things, and either they go there and it's a bad showing, or when they come back, it takes a while to get back into the routine. And because hockey players, in large part, are very routine oriented. They have a routine. They wake up, they go to the rink, they practice, they have lunch, they take their naps, they get to the rink at a certain time, they tape sticks, they're cutting sticks, they're modifying sticks. There's a routine there, and when you speak to the players, based on what the players were saying in Sweden, not a lot of them got good sleeps. Sheldon Keefe, the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, was saying that he didn't sleep at all. Well, he didn't sleep very well throughout the week. Um, so it is what it is. It's tough, but that first game, the first two periods, I was just sitting there watching the game, hoping that the Leafs would find their legs, make a game out of it, just provide a little bit of entertainment, because how often is it that you get to play NHL games in Sweden in front of friends, family, and then just in general, the hockey fans that are in Sweden get to see the NHL product. And then when they go to the game, two sluggish teams, uh, very disorganized, not being able to make crisp passes in the first two periods. Like, it didn't look very good at all. And if you're trying to grow the game of hockey and you're trying to say NHL is the best league in the world for hockey, you have to be able to put on a good show. There's got to be some aspect of great entertainment. And those two first periods were very brutal. But thank God William Nylander woke up in the third period. Holy smokes, is this guy on fuego? Guy's on fire. I mean, like, there's no other way to put it. I mean, it's, you know, I talk with my buddies and I talk with other people that are hockey fans, and even though Austin Matthews is first in the NHL in goals, he's tied for the lead in goals. There is a guy on this team that you could make an argument for is having a better season so far than the guy who leads the NHL in goals. And, you know, That's a fair argument. Like I can say, Matthews leads the league in goals. He's having a very good season. The way he started off with scoring those hat tricks, it looked like he was gonna burst out and score like 20 goals really quick. But then all of a sudden, William Nylander plays a good game, plays a good game, plays a good game, racking up points, racking up points, racking up points, scoring goals. And then all of a sudden, like he's in the top three in scoring in the NHL. I think he's like 1 or 2 points back of the uh, top of the NHL. And it's very like you could make the argument that even though Matthews leads the NHL in goals, William Nylander is having a better season right now, and he might be the best player on the Leafs right now. Not that he's the best player overall, but right now he's the best player on the Maple Leafs. When he's on the ice, things are happening. Good things are happening. In terms of his puck possession, the way he's skating around with so much confidence, holding onto the puck, making plays like against Detroit, the way he came off the boards. And most guys coming off the boards like that, having time and space in the slot and having the shot that William Nylander does, most guys would have ripped that puck. But he makes a pivot and then Bertuzzi goes to the net and he's wide open and it's an easy pass for a tap in and just making things happen at a level that you know me me personally, I've always thought that he had this in him. Whether how depending on how long it took to get here. I mean, last year he scored 40 goals and was more than a point per game, so it pretty much his breakout season was last year. But right now, I mean, there isn't anybody you talk to that isn't talking about William Nylander being one of the most exciting, if not like explosive players in the game right now. And this is a guy like this guy is the perfect player for this market. For years, the criticism has been soft. He won't back check. He avoids contact. Um, if you can't pay the core four, this is the guy you got to move. I mean, it's been there constantly, constantly, constantly. And it definitely would affect other players, but this guy, no way. This guy was built for this market. Absolutely built for this market. You can criticize him and you can get on him and you can say whatever you want. Ain't nothing gonna phase this guy. And that's what I love about most. This is what I love most about him is is this attitude. It's the same reason why I liked Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel didn't care. Just went out there and scored his 30 points and got his 82 points. But this market was all over Phil Kessel, like they were all over William Nylander for a long time. This is the guy you got to move if you can't pay everybody, and you can't pay this guy. This guy's not worth his money. And at this point, I mean, like this, this is the problem with being a GM who likes to take his time, right? And Tree Living did this with Goudreau in Calgary. He could have got business done. He waited. And then all of a sudden, when it came time to negotiating, Goudreau said, I've had all this time to think about it, and I don't want to play here anymore. I want to go somewhere else. Now, William Nylander in the off season was the time to sign this guy. There was no white noise. You could have came to a number whether it was 9.5. I mean, as a management group, if you don't think this guy's worth $9 to $10 million, you're out to lunch. Like this guy is explosive. You drafted him, you developed him. He's in his prime and he's one of your best players. To think that like you would even stall negotiations to try to get a better price is a complete waste of time and not how you run a team. I mean, if you're gonna nickel and dime somebody, you nickel and dime, Reeves, Bertuzzi, Domi, Kerfoot, Hall, whoever it is that you're looking in free agency. If you're gonna nickel and dime somebody, you're gonna go nickel and dime a $4 or $5 million player. You're not gonna go nickel and dime a $10 million superstar who is on fire and one of your best players. What are you gonna do? How can the Leafs management ever live this down or explain away why they lost William Nylander in free agency and why he walked? I mean, like, if in your heart of hearts, if the Leafs said we can afford only one of Nylander and Marner, who would you choose? Right? Are you going to choose the guy who's going to score 40 all the time and be a point a game guy? Or are you going to choose Mitch Marner? I doubt there's a lot of people out there that would choose Mitch Marner, right? Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there are games here and there where the Leafs top line looks good and they score goals. Like Matthews scored a goal, Nye scored a goal. But in general, when you look at the way this how the Leafs second line became their best line, holding on to the puck, making plays, cycling the puck in the zone, tiring out the other team, and just using your skill to just carve the other team, their offensive zone, in the offensive zone. And then you look at the Leafs top line. Matthew Nyes, who's a really good player, and Mitch Marner, who's a really good player, have have this one trait in common, in that they both give up the puck way too easy. In that, if you notice Matthews skating down the middle, skating into the slot, trying to get into position, you see Matthew Nyes and Mitch Marner drop passes, reverse passes, backhand passes that you just can't put enough you just can't put enough power and speed on to get it across to anybody. And then they give up the puck way too easy, way too quick. And right now it's seeping into Nice's game too, where that as soon as he gets the puck and he turns into the boards instead of turning towards the net, which is his game. He's a power forward. He'll turn into the boards and then he'll do one of these like reverse between the legs or reverse around his back, and they're giving up the puck. And Matthews is just skating in circles, and no one is making plays for this guy. This guy started the season on fire, and then all of a sudden, he's on a line where nobody can get him the puck. No one's making plays for him. No one's, cycling the puck in the zone and getting it to him in the slot. And so the offensive production on that top line has slowed down significantly. Like you put Nylander with Matthews right now, and I would love for Nylander's game to seep into Matthew Nice's game instead of Marner being the guy who influences him. Marner, just the way he makes the plays where he's always trying to do some sort of a spin or a backhand or drop, like it kills the offense, and this is why he's horrible in the playoffs. When there's no time and space, you can't play like that. Regular season, maybe. Regular season, you play against 30th place teams and 32nd place teams and horrible power plays and horrible penalty kills. And sometimes you do have time and space to make those plays, and they look amazing. They're highlight reel plays. But in the playoffs, when all that time and space is gone and everyone's on you all the time and it's a really tight game, You got to be a north and south player. You got to take the puck to the net, and you got to make simple plays. I don't know. It's just the way I see right now that second line playing, and Bertuzzi is coming around. I think whatever injury he was dealing with is kind of going away, and he's getting healthy. And I mean, for the very first time against Detroit, we got to see a prototypical Tyler Bertuzzi play where he creates offense. And that is the puck goes around the boards behind the net. Justin Hall goes to get it. Bertuzzi bangs into him on the boards, turns over the puck. He skates out from behind the net, and he makes a play to Tavares, and it's a tap in goal. I mean, that is a prototypical Tyler Bertuzzi play. That's his game. That's what he's built for. That's the way he's always played the game. And, for me, it's, I put that on repeat. Just put it on repeat. That's what I want to see this guy do all day, every game. Just cycle the puck. He's going to go bang somebody, cough it up, give it to somebody in front of the net, and thank God Tavares is the type of player that goes to the net, spends a lot of time in and around the front of the net, and they're going to produce offense. That second line is easily going to be the Leafs' best line by the time Christmas comes around, and that line of Matthews and Marner really need to pick it up. They need to stop the nonsense, the drop passes, the reverse passes, the backhand passes. Like they need to stop this nonsense. You got so much skill. Just skate to the net with top speed. I mean, the way Matthews sometimes gets the puck and he goes boop 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 between a guy's legs and goes in and around the triangle and the stick, and then he he goes he goes through a defense like a hot knife through butter, and all of a sudden he's like boop 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 and he's at the net. I mean, Nye should be playing like that. Marner should be playing like that. You know, uh, Marner has been shooting a little bit more, but he needs to shoot a lot more. Not so much defer to everybody else, but it's if Nyes can utilize his size and his speed and get into better spots like he did over the weekend, where he got into a good spot. The pass came across and he one times it in the net and he goes right in between Curry's legs. I mean, that's what you want to see Nyes do. Nyes, uh, he's got a lot of tools and he's very young and he just came into the NHL, so you give him some time, but I just don't want Mitch Marner to be the guy who influences Nyes' game. Nyes and Marner give up the puck way too quick. They have it, they have time and space, but you know, they look over their shoulder, there's someone there, and it's like it's a drop pass, it's a reverse pass. It's one of these passes that always gets picked off. It's really killing the offense of that top line. But in general, um, like I said in my last podcast, the Leafs defense hasn't been great. The offensive contribution from the bottom of the lineup really haven't been there, but it's a testament to how good the Leafs top guys are that they can drag this team to victories on a nightly, like what you're seeing in Edmonton, uh, the way they're losing games, and you know when McDavid was hurt, Draisaitl was completely invisible, and then now that McDavid is back, the goals and point totals aren't there because they have to play defense. They have to be conscious of the other end of the ice. Meanwhile, in Toronto, they say McDavid is the best player in the NHL because he did whatever he did last year in terms of points and goals. It's all fluff. If you never play defense, you're always out there for the power play. And all you do is, find Leon and he one times pucks. Hey, what's Leon when McDavid isn't there? Nothing. Is he when McDavid was hurt and Leon was in the lineup by himself? Was he one timing pucks into the net? No. So it's cool when you figure out the glitch and you exploit it, but you know, Ovi figured out the glitch too. He went and found his spot and he one times pucks. So they say he's a great goal scorer, which he is, but they don't call him the best player in the NHL. And at the end of the day, I'm a Leafs fan, so I'm watching Leafs games, and I see Matthews skate 200 feet, lift the guy's stick, steal the puck, turn it the other way, you know, be at the top of the league in takeaways, uh, wins faceoffs, scores goals. You know, like we always talk about the type of team we'd like to see as Leaf fans. We always, this season it's been a lot of talk about being tougher and grittier, and it seems like ever since the Brad Marchand's situation, the Leafs after every whistle, if you get close to the goalie, somebody's going to grab you and throw you down on the ice. And there's been a couple of fights. Giordano got into a fight. Domi got into a fight. So the team is changing a little bit, but our best players are very defensively responsible. At the same time, they're putting up ridiculous offensive numbers. Like people like to harp on Tavares in Toronto, but he's not a minus player. He's always he's never really on the ice when the other team is scoring. But he wins faceoffs. He's been a point a game forever, and he constantly scores 30 goals this season. So I mean, I think he's 6 points away from 1,000, which is going to be a super fun celebration. I would just like to say ahead of time, congratulations to John Tavares, because those playing with Willie, those 6 points are going to come real quick, and it's going to be a great celebration for him. I'm happy for him that he's going to get to 1,000 points, and the players are going to jump off the bench in the middle of the game, and they're gonna celebrate with him and congratulate him. And good. I actually hope these two games on the road. I believe Friday and Saturday the Leafs play on the road, and then they play at home. So Johnny, don't get the 6 points on the road. Get five, and then I'm going to be at the home game, and I want to see you get 1,000 live because I was I read the schedule well enough where I was able to very strategically choose which game to be at when Matthews scored his 60th um, against the Detroit Red Wings. I was actually first row on the balcony, right behind the Detroit net when Matthews scored his. And I actually, yeah, I took a video on my phone and I posted it on my YouTube account if you guys want to go check it out. I was there live for that. And so Johnny scored five on the road. And when you're 1 point shy of 1,000, going to be at the home game, and I want to see you get that 1,000th point, buddy. And so the Swedish trip is over. The Leafs got their 4 points. Didn't look good for half. I would say the first two periods of the first game and the first period of the second game. They didn't look great. So 3 out of 6 periods they weren't great. But like I said, it's a testament to how good the Leafs top guys are. And I think as a fan base, we need to celebrate these guys a little bit more. We love Nylander, we love Marner, we love Matthews, Riley, Samsonov, Wall. Like let's be a little bit more loving. I mean, I think sometimes people lose sight of how hard it is to win games in the NHL when not every piece of the puzzle is there. Leafs defense is not great and their goaltending struggled to start the season. But again, our top guys are literally dragging the team to win. Whether they have to score five a night or six a night or seven a night or whatever it is, like the Leafs are doing a lot. Their top guys are doing a lot, and I think we need to show a little bit more appreciation and not really, not so much nag on every little thing. Like at the end of the day, um, you know, whatever it takes to win, whatever it takes to win a Stanley Cup, I'm there. You know, you know, if you told me the Leafs are guaranteed a Stanley Cup, but they have to trade Matthews, I would be like, give me the guaranteed Stanley Cup. I don't care who's on the team. I love the Toronto Maple Leafs and whoever's going to wear that jersey. So at the end of the day, not going to complain so much. I love all the guys. I wish them success. I want them to play well. I want them to win a lot of games, and I want them to win a championship. So the Swedish trip was good. They're back. They got a little bit of time off. It sucks. Today's Monday. They don't play tonight, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They play Friday, Saturday back to back, which are both road games. Sucks. But Johnny, get 5 points, don't get six. I want to see you do it at home. But in general, the Leafs schedule is good, and there's a lot of uh, interesting developments going on with it. John Klingberg is hurt. This guy throughout his career has had hip problems. He had double hip surgery, and something. I think it was the game against the Florida Panthers. I think that's the game where he got injured. So like something happened. He tweaked something, but didn't tell anybody and tried to play through it. And that's when you had that string of really bad games. John Klingberg. I think he tried to grind it out. He didn't want to talk about it, but it seems like this is a thing that's really bothering him, and it's not something that they can fix with therapy. So, I mean, there's a really good chance that the player and the team, very important, the player and the team both have to decide that LTIR is the way to go. The team just can't put you on. Has to be there has to be an agreement there. So there's a good chance that John Klingberg may need surgery, may need therapy. There's something that he just can't get right. And there's a good chance he goes on LTIR and the Leafs recoup their foreign change uh, cap hit on John Klingberg, which is more than enough to go out and trade for a guy like Zadorov, Tanev, or both if the Calgary Flames decide to retain a little bit of salary to make the trade work and to increase the assets that they get for the Leafs in a potential trade. So it's 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 crazy how fast everything turned around. I mean, John Klingberg didn't look bad in preseason. Started off the season okay, got injured at some point, didn't really speak up, tried to grind through it, and then the Leafs eventually figured out that there was something wrong, gave him some time off. He didn't get better, but they played him in that one game, and all of a sudden now it's they tried to sit him to get him healthy for the Swedish trip and for him to play in Sweden, obviously. But so that's a very interesting situation to monitor because if he goes on LTIR or needs some sort of cleanup surgery on his hips or some sort of long-term rehab, recoup $4 million, that's going to be that's going to be spicy. The Leafs are definitely going to go out and trade for a defenseman. And then all of a sudden, like the landscape shifts a lot because Reeves is sitting. He's not playing a lot of games. The fourth line has looked a lot better. So if you waive him, I believe the way it works now is if you waive a player into the minors, you can recoup up to $1.15 million. He's a $1.3 million player. So if you were to waive Reeves and nobody picks him up and he goes and gets moved down to the Marlies, he becomes a $200,000 cap hit, and then all of a sudden Klingberg's 4.15 and Reeves is 1.15, and then all of a sudden you got almost $5.25 million. I mean, that's a decent amount of cap space. If you take $5 million in, forgot how to do this calculation. If you take $5 million the trade deadline, you can acquire something like 8 or 9 million dollars worth of cap. Um, I'm going to clarify that for you guys in the next podcast. I'm actually going to get the calculator up, and there's a tool that allows you to calculate based on how much cap space you have going into the trade deadline, how much money you can acquire. So that's very spicy. But the most spicy thing to talk about right now is William Nylander and contract. So one of the guys that I like to read a lot is Pierre LeBrun, and he wrote an article in the Athletic, which makes me feel really good about the situation with Nylander. And so he's basically said that he's like things have been very quiet, and that's only because the team and the agent for William Nylander have agreed to keep everything quiet, not to talk, not to do this to the media. So they both respected the process, which is amazing. So he says here, but Leafs fans should not confuse the silence as a red flag. When it comes to the talks themselves, nothing has gone off the rails. My understanding is that the dialogue is ongoing and both sides were committed to figuring it out between now and July 1st. So the one good thing is William Nylander has said that he wants to stay in Toronto and he wants to stay in Toronto, which is great. I'm sure they're going to figure it out. He said if either side was getting frustrated, you might see more leaks into the media, but that hasn't happened yet. So it seems like things are very amicable between the Leafs and William Nylander. So basically, what Pierre LeBrun has done is he's reached out to rival execs in the NHL and he's listed their responses and then kept the people's name anonymous. So rival exec number one says this is a very similar situation to Boston's Pasternak, who signed in March of last year. Correct. He finished the season with 61 goals and 113 points, and he got 11.25. So obviously Nylander is not going to have a 60-goal season or a 100-point season. So the number would definitely come in below 11.25. Now the same rival exec says, I know Matthews is at 13.25, but only on a 4-year term. If Nylander goes 8 years at 11 and a half, that's 92 million guaranteed dollars, where he would have to get 13 million on 7 years because Leafs are the only one that can offer 8 years. Other teams would have to offer 7. So if the Leafs were like 11 and a half times 8, a team that wants to give him that $92 million total has to give him a $13 million cap hit over 7 years. So that's what rival exec number one says. So he's thinking Nylander is going to come in around 11 and a half. Wow. Exec number two says, I don't see how it's less than 11 million given the rising cap and the season he's having, unless he wants to take a discount to a destination of his choice on a 7 or 8 year deal, that is. So this GM is also saying $11 million would make sense. Exec number 3 says, my guess is that it comes in around 10.5 to 11 million depending on the term. So maybe at 8 years you can get him at 10.5 or 10, but it's going to be in and around that number. Exec number 4, difficult question, Pierre. What is fair and what will happen are two different things. He will be 28, has never hit 90 points, and has never been past the second round of the playoffs, and only there one. He's only been there once. But our system pays on points, rightly or wrongly, and he will have a strong case. Does he help Toronto win more than Matthew Tkachuk at 9.5 million? Probably not. But the cap is going up, and Toronto pays a tax premium, $10 million annual AAV, full term, probably gets more. Probably gets more. So another guy just said 10 times 8. Exec number 5, I start by asking what he would get as an open market UFA. I doubt anyone goes to 11 million for him, but think he'd get $10 million. So if he wants to play in Toronto and a bit of a hometown discount, I'm saying 9 to 9.5 million. This guy's living in a dream world, and I want to join him in that dream world. William Nylander at 9.5. Woo! Exec number 6, depends on his mindset. Aho signed for 9.75. It's an easy comparable and can be considered fair, but with Toronto's food chain, he shouldn't be too far away from Marner, so that bumps him into 10.5 to 11 million. See, this is what happens when you pay playmakers too much money, because you're going to get a guy like Nylander who's going to score more goals than Marner always. Then all of a sudden, when you overpaid for the playmaker at 11, now you got to pay this guy 11. He'll have the leverage if he wants it, but if you wanted to keep the court together with 34 and 16, then it shouldn't be too much more than Aho. So Aho at 9.75, you're looking at 10, 10.5. If he resigns, I could see 10.5. Nylander is a unique player that can have a lot of different opinions on. As talented as he is, some teams wouldn't make him the guy on their team. A lot of teams see him as the shiny sports car you splurge on when your portfolio is all in order. Leafs' portfolio is all in order because they have Matthews, they have Marner, they have Riley, they have Nyes, they have Fraser Minton, they have Easton Cowan, they have a lot of kids coming. That's why you need to. I can see them stepping into the $10 million range, but it's likely not going to be a competitive team. I'm not sure how many teams will be looking to make a commitment right now until the cap jumps up more significantly. Well, the cap's supposed to go up $7 million. Exec number 8 says somewhere between Goudreau, 9.75, and Huberdeau, 10.5. That's the ideal. I think it's exec number 9 says, I think it's fair that it's 10.5 to 10.75. I think that's very fair as well. Exec number 10, I think it's because of his age, 8 years, 8.5 to 9 million if I'm the Leafs. Who is this GM? Exec number 11, game breaker. Probably count on one hand how many players are as dynamic as him. Facts can change the game in an instant at a good age. Not every team has a room, but there are 32 teams. Someone will pay him below Pasternak, but just below Pasternak. If he wants, it will start at 10. 8 years, 11.5 million is fair. Touch more than Pasternak. If you look at internal structure, he should make more than Marner and Tavares, but it would be 8 years, 12.5, I would guess. Holy. What's fascinating about this exercise is that you've got a lot of smart front office people here with different views, going from a low average of 9 AAV in one instance to 12.25 million AAV on the other hand. What's also interesting is that everyone who answers has assumed there will be a max term deal if he resigns in Toronto. Please, someone sign for 8 years, please. So, very good article in The Athletic from Pierre LeBrun. It was a very good read. I loved it. And I don't know, man. You guys tell me what you think is going to happen with Nylander. I think he's going to sign for max 8 years, and I think it's because he wants the max money. He's going to sign for max term. And he's going to be the first guy to sign 8 years at under $12 million. So he's going to be a fan favorite in Toronto. His star is only rising. He's only getting better. I mean, it's a very interesting situation. I don't think anything's going to happen between now and the new year. Roster freeze goes in December, so I think realistically, the Leafs are going to ramp up talks as of January, between January and the trade deadline. So not that much time. January, February, March. So enjoy it. Don't talk about Nylander and his contract situation until the new year. And when the new year hits in January, you're going to see a lot of this ramp up, and it's going to ramp up until March until he signs at the trade deadline. So you guys tell me what you think with the numbers. I think I personally would do anywhere between 10 and 10 and a half on an 8. You guys let me know. What do you guys think? Like and subscribe. Thank you for tuning into another episode of the TML Domain podcast. I love you guys. I'm actually, on my next episode, I'm going to talk about what's going on Facebook a little bit. The engagement on Facebook has been unreal. I did a post about what future logos would look like for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the year 3000, and we got more than 12,000 views and a lot of votes on which one was the best. I'm going to tally those up. I'm going to let you guys know which one was the best one. And because it got so many views and so many comments and posts and shares and stuff like that, I'm going to make it into a thing where I'm going to post not only futuristic year 3000 Toronto Maple Leaf logos, but what jerseys might look like in the year 3000, what hockey equipment looks like in the year 3000, um, jerseys, goalie masks. We're gonna go all out, and we're gonna have everybody vote. So stay tuned for that on Twitter or X and Facebook. Like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you for tuning in. See you.